Hi, welcome to Manas Shil YouTube channel. Before we start, kindly subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you. Let's start the video. If you haven't watched the previous video, I'll link it in the description box, or you can click here. Chapter 2. A short-lived everyday life. Sare and Grigori. After going back to the surface from the basement, I next headed for the training grounds. I was also allowed to see the strength of the new Farmina's Kingdom knights trained by Grusius. There were 500 knights of B rank and above, and 3,000 knights of C rank and below. If they gathered all of the knights from all over Farmina's, there would be more than 40,000 knights. However, there was no point in gathering such a large number at this time, so they were giving priority to maintaining security. Well, if a huge army of angels attacked, there would be nothing we could do on the ground. Yeah. I heard there was anti-aircraft magic, but there aren't many magicians. Rommel concluded that it would be better to focus on defending the city with legion magic. Lars and San agreed, so we're training according to that policy. In other words, the Night Order's mission is to free the people from those who come down to the earth. Yaum and Grusius explained to me. I was relieved to see that they weren't too eager to take on the enemy. I was a little worried that you might be thinking about doing something reckless. Hahaha, I'm more timid than Phobio-sama. I know what I'm capable of, so I won't be reckless. Well, since Lars and San trained me, I think I'm stronger than before. And just recently, my strength has suddenly increased. I'm going to be a shield for everyone, to the extent that I won't be ashamed to be a leader. Grusius replied. It's not that he's a coward, but that he possesses a quality that is essential for a commander, calm judgment. Grusius had a calculating side, so he didn't seem likely to misjudge the difference in strength between him and the enemy. There was also a curious comment about his sudden increase in strength. Indeed, the amount of magicule in Grusius now seems to be comparable to that of the previous Beastketeers, so it seems to be equivalent to special A rank. If his skill level was added on top of this, he must have grown to be a very strong asset. The reason for this is, without a doubt, the effect of Carrion's awakening. Even though he became like a brother to Yaum, he did not forget his respect for Carrion. This was also a sign that Carrion felt a strong bond with Grusius, his subordinate. That's because Carrion has awakened and evolved. It must have affected you too. Carrion-sama did. Yeah. So don't ever waste that power. Of course, I understand. This feels like a lecture. It's not my place to tell you that. Hahaha, not at all. I'm glad to know why, and since His Majesty Rimuru is someone Carrion-sama approves of, I'm grateful. I'm glad he doesn't think I'm meddling in his affairs. I hope so. By the way, so Grusius is also being trained by Larsen. Larsen is the one who trained Grusius. I seem to remember him being the one who made ramen noodles, but I guess he must have been a wizard. How can Larsen be a match for Grusius? Oh, Larsen-san is a jack of all trades. His knowledge of magic rivals Myron's. Hey, don't address my wife that way. Shut up, she's eventually gonna be my. Don't screw with me, you bastard. Yes, that's enough fighting. So? I was tired of seeing them bicker on a comical level, so I asked them to move on. To summarize Grusius' story, when Larsen took the body of the Otherworlder, Shogo, he took his power as well. Of course, he did not take away the skill level of the Otherworlder, but Larsen, who had gone through a certain amount of training, was a first-rate fencer as well as a wizard. As such, he was good at striking and kicking, which he passed on to Grusius. I didn't understand what he meant at first, when he told me not to only fight with my natural physical abilities. Grusius laughed. Yeah, well. Sare has more strength than Larsen, but he loses in arm wrestling. He's no match for him in a real fight, and I've been impressed with him, since he made his name in the Western nations as the Magin Larsen. It's no wonder the Beastketeers were so cautious. But that's when Grusius stopped talking, and looked at me. Then he shook his head. I understand, Grusius. With that, Yaum patted Grusius on the shoulder and looked at me. While I was wondering what the hell was going on, they both looked at each other and sighed deeply. I'm just saying that there's always someone better, boss. Oh, yeah. That Larsen-san was being played like a baby in front of Gadridono. I was stunned when I saw that. Oh, so that's the story. Well, Diablo had also said that Larsen was a small thing that doesn't matter, and we had a lot of people like that. Gadra is certainly strong. There is no doubt about it, but I feel that he's still a mid-tier level in our country. He seems to have evolved in a strange way after becoming a member of Diablo's faction, so his current rank may have changed, but he still doesn't seem to be within the top ranks. Talking about this, I wondered what Gadra was doing now. So, I don't see Larsen or Gadra around. Are they doing something somewhere? Yaum replies with a wry smile. Training, they're training. They participated in the meeting, to pick up the boss, and to discuss future developments, but other than that, they've been fighting all this time. Seriously? For real? Brucius nodded, so he must be telling the truth. I thought Gadra was the intellectual type, but I didn't know he liked to fight so much. Did Diablo have a bad influence on him? Such fears began flashing through my mind, but I quickly dismissed them. If you're curious, I'll show you around. I took Yaum at his word, and decided to visit Gadra and the others. The destination was a plain about an hour's ride away by carriage. There was a simple hut, similar to a guest house, that stood there. There was nothing else, just wasteland as far as the eye could see. According to Yaum, there were only 4 people living there. Needless to say, the 4 were Larsen, the best of the Farmina's kingdom, Sare, and Grigori, formerly of the 3 martial sages, and Gadra. It was a very interesting combination, but when we arrived, they had all lined up to greet us. It was strange to see Gadra leading the way, acting like a representative. We are very pleased that you have come to such a place. At Gadra's signal, the 3 remaining members of the group bowed their heads. Not to Yaum, but to me. Hey, I'm here too, aren't I? Your Majesty, Sare, and Grigori are guests of Farmina's, but it is not you they are loyal to. Therefore, they are paying their respects to His Majesty Rimuru, the Lord of Gadar Sama, by their own will. I get it. You don't even have to say anything, you're always lecturing me. Larsen rebuked Yaum's complaining, but their relationship was more familiar than I had expected. Larsen's true intentions are unknown, but his position is that of a loyal vassal of Farmina's. I had thought that he held no loyalty to Yaum, but judging from his attitude, it seemed that he cared for him in his own way. However, aside from Gadra and Larsen, I don't remember being respected by Sare and Grigori. Anyway, if they're doing this of their own will, why me? I was curious, so I asked. Yaum seemed to be curious, as if he had never heard of it. If they wanted to move to my country, I could consider accepting them. Hinata didn't seem to have any intention of seeking out Sare and the others as traitors and executing them. There's a clear reason. Master Larsen taught us about our inexperience, and Guru Gadra taught us about the greatness of His Majesty Rimuru. We were so impressed that we wished to be included at the bottom of your ranks. Guru. That's right. Well, Gadra Sama's strength was unimaginable, but from what I heard he's not even close to His Majesty Rimuru. No. Even before that. I've heard that His Majesty Rimuru has a lot of powerful people under his command, that even Gadra Sama cannot match, and we want to test our strength. Ranga jumped out from behind me, while Grigori was making his speech. Well said. You are Grigori, I knew you'd be a sight to behold. If it's alright with you, then I'll give you a test of strength. That dog guy from back then. No. Ranga Dono, wasn't it? Grigori is shaking and sweating profusely. He had been badly beaten by Ranga before. Had he been traumatized since then? No, it can't be. If that's the case, why don't you let Ranga deal with him? My lord, it would be my pleasure. No, come, Grigori. Let us get out of the way, so that my lords are not disturbed. Hold on. Ranga grabbed Grigori's head in his mouth, and ran happily away. I couldn't see Grigori's face, but I'm sure he was happy that his wish came true. I saw him, and Ranga off with warm eyes. It wasn't just me, but all the people present as well. Oh, I'd like to test my skills too, but I'm still inexperienced, so I'd like to start from the bottom, Sare said awkwardly. That's true. Ranga is my bodyguard, so he's one of the best. I thought Grigori-san was a challenger. Of course. He's got a phobia of dogs, since he lost to Ranga Dono. I think he wanted to overcome it. Hearing Sare's comment, Larsen was holding his head in disgust. Yaum and Gadra were chatting amicably beside him. Even I am not a match for Ranga Dono, what a fool he is. I see, that sure is some rough treatment. That's amazing, I don't think I'd ever be able to do that. Don't do it. Your Majesty is a king. You don't need to be strong. I've always wanted to be strong, but I know my own strength. Once you get to know Boss Rimuru, it's obvious that a little strength is useless. It's not useless. Even in the worst case, if we stay alive, we might be able to help in time. Right. Well, I'll do what I can to protect the ones I love. I think that's a good idea. Yaum seems to be becoming more aware of his role as king. I can't lose either. I don't intend to be as crazy as Grigori, but I am determined to do what I can, step by step. Larsen also seems to approve of Yaum now. As long as your Majesty Yaum serves this country, I will do my best to help you. Well, Her Royal Highness Princess Meme is the one I am going to make my apprentice, as I promised Queen Myron, so I'll protect her before anyone else. What a thing to say. However, Yaum should be relieved to know that he has someone who has supported the Farmus Kingdom for hundreds of years. As for me, I was thinking of something else. I was puzzled by the fact that Larsen spoke in an old man's manner despite his youthful appearance. In the meantime, Ranga returned with a limp Grigori in his mouth. My lord, after a little playtime, this person has stopped working. Too much. You're not Shion, so can't you take it easy on him? I scolded him severely. And when I diagnosed Grigori, it turned out that he had just fainted. Fortunately, Grigori was safe, so I decided to play it cool. And on top of that, Ranga played nicely into it. You're right. I was so overwhelmed by this man's spirit that I overdid it. No, he's really good. He's brilliantly correcting his mistakes. I don't know who he's taken after, but I think Ranga has become cunning. But it seems that our teamwork has convinced Yaum and the others. It's exactly as Remure-sama says. Isn't that right, you guys? Oh, yes. If that's what the boss says, then I guess that's what it is. I'm particularly dissatisfied. Sare, wasn't it your misunderstanding? That's right. Well, Grigori sure has become a gutsy man, yes. There is no problem. You're right. Now that I have a little respect for you, I'll call you Grigori-san from now on. So that's what happened. When Grigori himself woke up, he politely declined my offer. Thus, all my business in the Farmina's kingdom was finished. Yaum and I discussed the matter, and agreed that Sare and Grigori would be accepted and trained in our country. I was concerned that their forces would be reduced, but they should be able to handle it since Gadra was still there. They also have Larsen, and unless there is a major invasion by the enemy, they should be able to buy some time. However, if such a situation had occurred, even with Sare and Grigori, it would have been a drop in the bucket. That's why I chose to develop my skills in preparation for an emergency, rather than worrying about such an eventuality. Incidentally, the power ratio of Larsen and the others was very interesting. If we simply compared the approximate amount of magicules, the order is Sare, Larsen, Grigori, and Grusius, from highest to lowest. Yaum, I'm sorry to say, is out of the question. With Hakuru's hellish training, and the performance of his equipment, he is barely in the air rank. We couldn't hope to increase his strength in the short term. Grusius was in the lead of the Beast King's warriors. Thanks to the gift from Carrion's awakening, he has grown to the level of Grigori, one of the former three martial sages. However, it was a problem for the Knight Commander to leave his home country, and he did not want to, so I did not bring him back. He said he would come to visit us after all the problems were settled. The first person who came to our country was Grigori. He is a strong man with the special ability of immobility. He prefers to use a battle axe spear, halberd, but he is also good at hand-to-hand combat. Although he was defeated by Ranga, he was a sage class comparable to a Demon Lord Seed, and had an existence value of about 400,000. He was much stronger than I expected, so there is a possibility that he might turn into one. The second person who came to our country was Sare. He used to be the first knight of the Imperial Guards, but he was defeated by Hinata, and gave up his position. Then he challenged Diablo as one of the three martial sages, and has been here ever since. Well, it was simply the wrong opponent. It seems that like Grigori, Sare was a man without luck. However, his ability is real. The value of Sare's existence, that it led to Saint, had surprisingly reached 1 million. It would certainly be interesting to have him challenge the labyrinth in the form of a real battle. By the way, Larsen only had a few more magicules than Grigori, but his ability was greater than Sare's. When he took Shogo Taguchi's body, he gained the unique skills Berserker and Survivor. According to Seal-san, there are cases where unique skill is rooted in the mind, cases where it is engraved in the soul, and cases where it resides in the astral body, spiritual body, or material body. There is also the power to steal skill from enemies, but it seems that this is only possible if it is in the body. As an exception, it seems that there are skills that reside in the soul, and in such cases, they can be taken away. In other words, is it harder to take something that's engraved in your soul? It is not absolute. But if it is rooted in the heart, it is impossible. She explained confidently. However, it seems that it can still be copied without being taken, so it is possible to commit foul acts like with Michael. I digress, but that's why Larsen, who had acquired 2 unique skills, was said to be more proficient in using them than Shogo. And so, he overwhelmed Sare, who had about twice his magicule count. However, it seems that this was only the beginning. Sare had a unique skill called the All-Knowing One, which allowed him to recognize and master his opponent's art just by seeing it once. When Larsen learned of this, he taught Sare all of the skills and magic he knew. Magic is both an art and a skill that comes from knowledge. It was not easy to learn, but Sare did not complain and asked Larsen to teach him. That is the reason why Sare called Larsen his master. That is why Sare is now stronger than Larsen in both name and reality. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoy it.